right, the season is over. Georgia Southern finished with a 7-6 record. They end up winning the J Lab Birmingham Bowl. Tumultuous season, ups and downs, a lot of more downs than ups. Finished strong, started weak. It's been all over the place. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I am somewhat excited for the upcoming season because there's a lot more to talk about, as well as us giving a grade for this season. But I am honestly excited, and overall, I am okay with the way the season played out, all things considered. But what we're going to do in this video, we're going to give a full grade of the season, give my thoughts and opinions about the season as a total, give a final grade, and we're going to talk about the transfer portal as well because we have a lot of stuff moving and shaking, a lot of moving and shaking, and I'm gonna give my thoughts about what I think that mean for the future going forward for Coach Clay Helton and staff because I think there's a really positive and bright future of what's going on. So let's go ahead and get into it. If this is your first time here, welcome over here. I talk about Georgia Southern, I talk about the Atlanta Falcons, and I talk about the Atlanta Hawks on this channel. And yeah, we're gonna be talking more Atlanta Hawks because the Georgia Southern season is pretty much over. So we're gonna be talking some Atlanta Hawks, and the Falcons got one more game for the year. So it's gonna be a lot more basketball going on the channel, and maybe a little bit of more Georgia Southern in other sports, but we'll see. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Fresno State, we went to California the first couple of games, and we went to Fresno State first. Actually had a decent, I think we had a lead. I think it was 14-13. I can't remember, but it was a close game for the most part in against Fresno State. Second half just went awry. We couldn't stop the run. And that was kind of like the theme for most of the season, especially the first half of the season. We couldn't stop the run. We couldn't stop anybody. And Fresno ended up winning 42-14. That game just got away from Georgia Southern. There's no way about that. It is what it is. So we went through that. Then we had to go down to LA, play USC. Coach Clay Helton returns to his old school. And I thought this team would have put up about 20 points against USC. I never thought that it was going to win this game. And I was like, yeah, it is what it is. Some people thought that the game was going to be like 50 or 60-10. And I was like, nah, I think they're going to put about 20 points. That's about right for Georgia Southern. And that's how it played out, 59-20. It was a couple of things that started off good. You know, we did score first. And I think by us going forward on fourth down early in the game kind of messed things up for the team, lost momentum. It was no need to go forward on fourth down. You should have just kicked the field goal and just kept it moving. But it is what it is. So you start off 0-2. Come back home to Paulson. You win the next two games against Jacksonville State. You beat Maine as well. So you're 2-2 on the season. This is where things kind of, I thought that going into Sun Belt play, I thought this was going to be a loss to come out the gate. I just thought JMU was just going to be a better team, and they ended up going to the college playoff, so it made sense that I felt that way looking back on it. 35-10 was the win against was against the loss against JMU. And I wasn't surprised. I really wasn't. So we fall to 2-3. Then this is where things went haywire because I thought that we was going to be able to come back home to Paulson and we was going to win this game against Southern Miss. Lose that game by 3, 38-35. Very disappointing. We dropped to 2-4, and people started to say, hey, something's going wrong. Coach Clay Helton got to go. I saw people on X. They were looking up buyouts. They were looking up salaries. Freedom of Information Act wasn't acted. It was pretty bad for a second. And look, I don't blame them. I mean, it is what it is. When you have high expectations and you don't live up to those expectations, a lot of fans are going to turn against you. It is what it is. I mean, look at the Falcons right now. Same thing. Fans are fed up with the way that this season has been. So at this time, this is where it was. So we end up beating Georgia State, which was expected. We end up 3-4. Hold on to, I can't remember the name of the bowl or that we have. I can't remember the name of it, but it's whatever, right? It was, we won that we kept the trophy, so that was cool. And let's see, 41-24. End up winning that. We end up going to 3-4. The Arkansas State game, I thought this was a winnable game, but it just didn't happen. It is what it is. And we end up losing by 10. Couple of miscues on offense kind of messed that up. We fall to 3-5. And being at 3-5, we thought like, all right, the season's done. You got 5 losses. We don't even know if we're going to make it to a bowl game at this point. There were people saying that we was going to end up going 3-9. We wasn't going to win another game. And I was like, I'm not the one the type to try to defend anything. I just try to keep it, even keeled, and I try to be fair. And I was like, yeah, going up the Boone, it didn't look good. And I was like, yeah, this is a situation at the very least we'll probably end up being 3-6 before we can get a win against Coastal Carolina. But Georgia Southern, they got it together. They went to Boone, North Carolina and win 25-23. And I was like, oh, okay, this team is trying to have some fight in them. They moved to 4-5. Could they get bowl eligibility? I don't know, but they're going to have to win the next 2 out of 3, and we'll see how it goes. Go up against Coastal Carolina, one of the hottest teams in the Sun Belt at the time. They put up 40 on us, but 45 is more than 40. We end up back at 500, 5-5. And we was like, okay, maybe we can get to a bowl game. We don't know how it's going to be against Marshall. Everybody knew from the beginning of the season, a lot of people was feeling like, yeah, we're going to lose the Old Dominion. So let's see, we probably going to lose the Marshall too. So we don't know how this is going to go. Maybe this is a team that's going to end up 5-7. We just don't know. So we go up against ODU, and it was just like everybody expected, 45-10. It was an ugly game. It got out of hand early. JC French threw an interception, and it was all she wrote. It just wasn't there. But it is what it is. Like I said, you find ways to dig yourself out of a hole and become bowl eligible, and that's what they did against Marshall, 24-19. They end up winning that game, and I was like, oh wow, they really put it together and won this game. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now. We're winning this game. We're bowl eligible. Let's see what we can do in the bowl game. Didn't know who was going to play. A lot of teams decided to opt out of it. I think Auburn, Louisville, I think it was a couple other teams that did not want to play in this bowl. Georgia Southern jumps in. Appalachian State jumps in as well. And this was a pretty solid outcome. Even before we played the game, I thought it was a pretty cool outcome to play your rival in a bowl game. You beat them already 25-23. So this game could have went either way, so I didn't know how it was going to go. But in the Birmingham Bowl, we end up winning that game 29-10, end up finishing 7-6. I will say this, man, winning the last 4 out of 5. I mean, that's pretty cool. You can't ask me anybody anything better than that. Win the last 6 out of 8. This is one of the things that you just didn't think you was going to do. We thought we were dead in the water at some point, and they end up pulling it off. And it was, at the end of the day, it's a successful season. You beat your 2 rivals, you win your bowl game, against your rival, and yeah, it is what it is. And they end up winning a bowl. I think it was a somewhat successful season. Could it have been better? Absolutely. I had this team winning double digits, and it was something there where I thought that it was very disappointing to see them not get that far. And to me, that knocked down a lot on this grade, because the final grade for me, honestly, I give it a C minus, because it could have done a lot better. It could have been better if they would have won against Arkansas State and Southern Miss. It would have been a much better outcome if they was able to do that. But I can't give them nothing but a C minus for this, because the expectations were so high. You did the bare minimum. Basically, you beat your 2 rivals and you won a bowl game, and you did it by going 7-6. I mean, if you were like, if you had 9 wins or something like that, and you couldn't win you couldn't win the Sun Belt because you lost to JMU and you was right behind them by 1 game, and it is what it is. I would have gave you a B plus. If they would have won the Sun Belt, I would have gave them an A. If they would have won the Sun Belt and got to the college football playoff, it would have been an A plus. I based on what I see here, finishing 7-6, man. You get they're like, right, 7-6. You get a C minus, and that doesn't mean everything is worst off in the world. It's just this team somewhat underachieved. This was probably one of the best put together teams that Coach Clay Helton put out. It's probably the best put together team that they put together, and it just didn't pan out, and it's really unfortunate. But yeah, I will say C. minus, and it is what it is. And we'll see what they do next year. Speaking of next year, we're going to look at the other side of the coin, where a lot of this information came from X, and I value this because it makes a lot of sense, because you can't really find all the Georgia Southern information, under one umbrella, outside of X. And we're going to talk about what they did here, because, look, man, some guys went to the portal. Some players are leaving. A lot of players are leaving. Some people got promoted. We got some new personnel staff here, and the players that are leaving are fairly significant. But we're going to get into that. So I started off this morning looking at what's going on, and it said, and I said that Georgia Southern offensive lineman Chandler Strong and Johnny Brown are entering the transfer portal. So that's two offensive linemen. And then shout out to GS Recruiting Nation. He said Wright is in the portal as well. So I think it's Logan Wright. He ended up moving to the portal. So that's another offensive lineman. That was kind of crazy. But some great news. Coach Safford, Darius Safford, he was promoted to assistant head coach. He did a phenomenal job as defensive coordinator when it for the Birmingham Bowl. And this is much, well deserved. Phenomenal job that he did with the defense. Him being assistant head coach, is going to be really interesting how this plays going forward. With him being assistant head coach, Mike Moots is coming in as defensive coordinator. It's going to be really cool to see how that goes. So that was pretty dope. So Taylor Henson, shout out to Taylor Henson, another one of my followers on X. He tweeted, the entire offensive line is now gone. Johnny Brown, let me go back, sorry. Johnny Brown, portal. Bashawn Wembley, out of eligibility. He was a senior. I knew he was leaving. Chandler Strong, portal. Caleb Cook, portal. Robert Wright, portal. So I thought I said Logan. I'm sorry, but it's Robert. Logan Wright used to be one of our running backs, right? Yeah, I think so. But Robert Wright going to the portal. So our entire offensive line, starting offensive line, is gone. They're all gone. So that's going to be really interesting how that's going to work out for the offensive line in 2026. Because that's pretty huge. Pretty huge to go through this and deal with all of those players leaving and that one entire unit gone. That's crazy, right? So another person who did leave, one of my favorite players that played this year, was Aiden Jackson. I will never forget what happened with him against the Appalachian State game when he missed that interception through his hands, and he was distraught. And Coach Bailey, one of the highlights of Coach Bailey time at Georgia Southern, he pulled Aiden Jackson to the side and say, look, got to focus. You got to get back in this game. We got this. And a couple plays later, he gets an interception, and you can almost pretty much say kind of sealed the deal for that game. So Aiden Jackson, thank you for everything you've done. Awesome player. He has 3 years. No, he doesn't have 3 years. Let me see how many more eligibility left. It doesn't say. They usually tell you how much more eligibility they have. Maybe he has one more. I'm not sure, because he's been with Georgia Southern for 3, so I think he has one year left. We're not going to talk about Stephon Diggs. And you can just read that right there. We're not going to talk about that. And Coach Jack White is our new linebackers coach for Georgia Southern. So we hired a new linebackers coach. I'm pretty sure he's one of the guys that are under Mike Moots. Mike Moots probably picked him. I would not be surprised if that was the case. So that was cool to see that. I don't know how much that is. I've seen a little bit background on him. He was in the SEC. I didn't get out. We will talk about him a little bit later once we get into Mike Moots' actual staff that he's bringing along. But I think he came from the SEC, so that's gonna be really interesting to see how well he comes through for Georgia Southern. And this is the big one because we already had Tyler Budge. Tyler Budge is leaving. He's transferring out, and I get it. And I'm gonna tie this into what this is right here. JC French. Hold on one second. JC French entering the transfer portal. This is another big deal, just like the offensive line. The offensive line is gone. OJ Arnold is transferring out. No, he's not transferring. He's out of eligibility, and our whole offensive line is gone. So pretty much the backfield and the offensive line is gone. So I think this is a really good move for JC French, and I think this is actually a really good move for Georgia Southern. I'm going to tell you guys why. JC French has done phenomenal in the last couple of years for Georgia Southern. Can't take nothing away from him. He played like a warrior. I mean, injuries, scrambling to get first downs, doing everything he can to get some W's, and he was fairly safe with the ball for the most part. 5,882 yards, 38 touchdowns. I mean, hey, you can't ask for more from a 2-year starter. But he's going into the transfer portal, and I think this is one of the reasons. I say one of the reasons why I think that J.C. French and Tyler Budge, both of them are probably leaving. You got a couple of dogs under center that's probably ready. I mean, you got Weston Bryant, you got Charlie Johnston, and you already recruited another quarterback that's coming in. I think he's somewhat of a dual threat. I can't remember his name. We talked about him when we talked about the recruiting class that came in on signing day. But JC French, I'm gonna be honest, he probably did not have the guarantee that he was going to start next year. There was some heavy competition. It was going to be some heavy competition coming into next year. Because don't get me wrong, these numbers are great, but a guy like Weston Bryant, you don't keep him on the sideline. You just don't. You don't keep a guy like that on the sideline and play these type of packages for him. This is a kid that I think that you give him a grasp of the offense, he may be able to lead this team as a sophomore. Same thing with Charlie Johnston. I think Charlie Johnston probably redshirted, but Charlie Johnston is more of a stand in the pocket passer. I don't know if that really works 100% for Coach Clay Helton, but you're probably looking at another Kyle Van Treese type of player with him. I'm not saying he's going to put up those numbers, but to stand in the pocket and actually throw, and he may be a little bit mobile, but I didn't see it. Those two guys are a threat to J.C. French. J.C. French could be sitting around here in his senior year on the bench because those guys are athletic, especially Weston Bryant, and he look like he can play right now. To be honest, Weston Bryant probably could have been a starter as a true freshman for Georgia Southern if they would have gave him more reps and let him grasp the playbook a little bit more. That's how highly I think of him. But I do think that this is a good move for both parties. J.C. French, I would love to keep him around, but when you look at the quarterback room, Johnston and Bryant, those two guys are going to be competing. And I would not be surprised if any one of those guys end up being QB1 going in. Now, this is another thing that could happen because this is Coach Clay Helton. This is Coach Clay Helton. This could happen. Coach Clay Helton could go into the transfer portal and bring somebody in as well. That could happen. And it won't be far-fetched because he did it with Brin. He did it with Van Treese. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. But this is what we're looking at right now to where I believe that this is what you got. And that was the biggest news of the day. I don't think anything else happened. I could be wrong. I'm going to look and see did anything. I think that was it for the most part that I've seen. But that is the biggest news right there. I mean, Georgia Southern transferred J.C. French. Standout J.C. French is transferring out. And I'm not really feel no kind of way about it, to be honest. I think it's best for both parties. Now, going into 2026, it's going to be really interesting. You got a lot of spaces that you can fill because a lot of people transferred out. I want to see who's going to come in. And the guys who come in, what are they going to do? What kind of impact they're going to have? I do believe we do not need a quarterback coming in, but if a quarterback come in that is very hard to turn down and he can get some things done under center right away, you may want to take a flyer on it, but I think Bryant or Johnston will be okay. As far as the offensive line, this may be some next man up situations. And I got to be honest, with Coach Clay Helton being here, he's done pretty well with the offensive line. We had offensive line problems a while back. I think it could have been Clay Helton's first year or the one before he came in. But this year, I mean, since he's been here, he's been pretty solid bringing some guys in the offensive line. I think we're going to be okay there. I don't see anybody else that's transferring. They're probably going to have other people transferring out. But the thing is, you're going to have to see who's coming in. And that's going to be the telling part. So overall, Georgia Southern gets a C- for the season. That doesn't mean that it was a failure, but it doesn't mean it was great either. I do believe dude got 1 or 2 more wins, I would have gave them a B. But it is what it is. You beat your rivals. You bring home a trophy. It's not much that you can really be too mad about. But there's a lot of room for improvement. A lot of room for improvement. So I already said this on Twitter already. 9 wins. 9 wins. See if I can find it. See if I can find it. Shout out to Gotta Talk. Right there, I said it. 9 wins. This is what we need. 9 wins. The 9 wins minimum. We're not going backwards. No more 6-win seasons. I would be disappointed, but okay with 8, but 9 wins next year. But we'll see. You guys let me know what you guys think. What are your grades? What do you think? And how everything played out in the transfer portal, how that's going to play out. And what are your thoughts for 2026? You guys let me know what you guys think. I'm going to get up out of here. Y'all take it easy. Y'all be blessed. Peace.